And welcome back to Sports on Tap.
Thank you.
I'm going to help you out a little bit there, Rob. Rob's having a little bit of technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
But welcome
I
back.
didn't have it all game.
We
And
good?
I think we're good now.
Solid?
You know what? Did the NFL mess with your mics? Is that what's happening
they
right
might
now?
have. I think
you can't
they
hear your
You
communication.
didn't get those from Boston, did you?
The New England Patriots messed with my mic.
I thought I saw Tom Brady walking around down here.
You did?
We're
Yeah.
Sports on Tap. It's our Ohio
Maybe it
High
was just a
School
mirror.
coverage presented by RRT Productions.
That's
And
why my wife's so happy then.
want to thank everybody out there for listening. We just got done with our conference MVPs, our recaps of Week 5.
We kept a week five in all of
the
our
GCC and the Southwestern Conference, along with the Suburban League, American, and National Divisions. We're going to go ahead and take a look ahead at this week's matchup, Week 6. Let's start off in the GCC with
Greater Cleveland Conference.
with Josh Jeffy giving us a breakdown and a look ahead of what's fun to watch here in Week 6.
If you guys, everyone out there listening, can just be here and witnessing what's going on. It's good stuff.
wheel.
It's good stuff. All right, guys, Week 6 of the GCC. We're, again, smack dab in the middle of conference play. We're going to start off with 4-1 Menor traveling to a 3-2 Solon. Solon coming off a tough loss. Menor coming off with a relatively easy victory over Shaker Heights. Menor looking to continue their winning ways after suffering their loss against Cleveland St. Xavier a few weeks ago. Shaker Heights, we just mentioned, will travel to Elyria. Both teams are 3-2. Both teams coming off a loss. This is a game where, which team is going to – let's see how they react after a loss. Shaker Heights coming off 2 straight losses. Elyria coming off 1.
So you're hoping that Shaker Heights could shake off their loss?
Exactly. That's what the Red Raiders do.
All day. Waiting for that all day.
Euclid with a big victory last week over Solon. They improved to 3-2. They travel to 4-1 Strongsville. Strongsville's quickly trying to stake claim on this conference this year. They're looking to beat Euclid where they have a game at home. My spotlight game is going to be a aforementioned MVP Nick Horton and the Brunswick Blue Devils. They are 1-4. They travel to Medina, who is 3-2. Medina.
Tom Loke likes this game.
Looking to bounce back after a tough defeat against Strongsville. And I'm interested to see how the young Brunswick Blue Devils will build off their first victory of the season. That's a big one to get off the schneid. Now it's just got to how you're gonna act after that victory. And like the old adage says, you got to act like you've been there. So can those young Brunswick Blue Devils act like they've been there before? With Luke Beal and Coach Ed Dick, I'm sure they'll be able to handle that challenge. But Medina, again, I'm sure Dan Sutherland's going to have them practicing real hard this week. So it's going to be an interesting game. That's why I selected that game, the spotlight game of the week in the GCC.
Moving on.
A lot going on in the GCC, and not a lot going on with this mic. And
Got a hot mic, Mike.
I don't know what's going on with this. It's a bad connection, but I think we're all right now. So we'll move to the Southwestern Conference. And hold on.
We're going to move to the Southwest Conference where there's a lot of good games.
That's right. All right.
At least 5.
Well, yeah, there's at least 5 of them. Week 6 in the Southwestern Conference. Now we're all right. We actually a bad connection there, but now we're okay. Lakewood, who still has yet to win in the Southwestern Conference, travels to Avon, and that's going to be a tough one as Avon's 4-1, 3-1. Amherst travels to Avon Lake, and that might be a game Amherst could sneak out. Avon Lake's 2-3. Amherst still looking to win its first game. Westlake travels to Midview, and Westlake still hasn't won, and that might be a tough one, especially traveling to Midview, who is undefeated still. Berea Mid-Park at Olmsted Falls, that's going to be a really good game, and that was close to being my spotlight game. Both teams 4-1, 3-1 in conference. Olmsted Falls losing to North Ridgeville, where Berea Mid-Park just lost to Midview. That's going to be at Olmsted Falls, so I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be ridiculous there. Going to be a fun game to watch. But my spotlight game, it's North Ridgeville at North Olmsted. North Olmsted 3-2, North Ridgeville at 4-1. And I feel like North Olmsted is a team that is 3-2, but they've lost some pretty close games. They played Avon really tough at home and actually could have won that game. And North Ridgeville is a team that's going in there, and if DeMario McCall doesn't have a really good game, I feel like North Olmsted could knock out North Ridgeville. So we'll see what happens there. But my spotlight game is North Ridgeville at North Olmsted, and that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, that's a game that I've been actually looking at since about this Saturday, was that North Olmsted North Ridgeville game. I think that's going to be very, very pivotal for North Ridgeville. See if DeMario McCall can again be the bell cow that they want him to be, and kind of lead that team. Not to take away from any of the other players, but really, I mean, that guy's he's a blue chip recruit for a reason, and you want to give him the ball, and hopefully Coach Durbin can have them ready for North Olmsted.
Yeah, well, we will see. It's going to be fun. But now let's move to the Suburban League, the American Division, and Sean Duffy.
In the American Division, we have Akron North at 0-5, traveling to Barberton. Barberton's coming off 2 straight conference losses. Akron North also coming off 2 straight in their conference. Looking probably at Barberton here, but yeah, it's going to be a good game there. Talmadge travels to Copley, and I look for Copley to continue to roll over Talmadge. Revere is going to be traveling to Kent Roosevelt. That's actually an interesting matchup to me. I want to see, how Revere and Kent Roosevelt play each other. They've both played, their opponents really tough, and just unfortunately maybe been outclassed a little bit, or maybe out talented in some of the situations. My Week 6 spotlight game is the Aurora Greenmen traveling to Medina Highland. Aurora's sitting at 5-0, 2-0 in the conference, and you got Medina Highland at 3-2 and 1-0 in the conference. And this is the one I point to when I mentioned in the other segments where Rob asked if there was a team out there that I think could make some noise in this division. I look for Highland to play spoiler because they have an opportunity here to play Aurora this week and Copley, I think, next week or the week after. So if they can somehow get a victory, on both these games, you could conceivably see a Highland at the top of the rankings, and that's huge for them. So I'm really interested to see this game. I'm interested to see if Aurora's defense can continue to come and play and hold Highland to low-scoring game and allow their offense to play. But Aurora's traveling on the road into Highland. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. If you got an opportunity, go out and take a look at this game. I think it's going to be one of your better Suburban League American games. Ed, what's on tap for the National League?
Well, in the senior circuit there, we do have Cuyahoga Falls.
I said the National League, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's not baseball, Monty.
Yeah, that's a dynamite drop in, Duffy. We do have the Black Tigers of Cuyahoga Falls going to travel to Hudson. That's a 0-5. Cuyahoga Falls going to 4-1 Hudson. Not looking too good for the Black Tigers in that game. North Royalton hosts Wadsworth. North Royalton's 2-3 will host Wadsworth 1-4. I think this will be a pretty good game. I think you're going to see the roles reverse a little bit as far as where they're at in the standings. I think Wadsworth's starting to get their bearings underneath them, and they're going to make things tough in the Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Bears.
Stowe Monroe Falls hosts Twinsburg. Stowe is 5-0. Twinsburg is 0-5. I guess the over/under on Jason Gobble touchdowns is 5.5.
Oh,
everyone wants to take the line
Nice.
on that.
If you're laying money in Vegas this week on Northeast Ohio running back.
Yeah, it's 5 total touchdowns. I'm not gonna limit him here.
Okay,
all
right.
He found a way to get in the end zone 6 times last game. My spotlight game will be 5-0 Brecksville Broadview Heights hosting 2-3 Macedonia Nordonia. Nordonia had a tough draw to start their conference season off. They played probably arguably the top 3 teams to start their conference play: Hudson, Stowe, and Brecksville. So I don't think Nordonia is I think Nordonia is much better than what their record indicates, and I think Brecksville, Brecksville is definitely not going to overlook them. Brecksville's going to have a couple of games before their Stowe game, that they have to avoid trap games. But I think in this case, Nordonia played Stowe very tough. They were able to put some points up on Stowe, which is what most teams have not been able to do. And Brecksville Broadview Heights has, they have very big play capability. And I think that's something that Nordonia can either mitigate and keep this game close. So that is my spotlight game for Week 6, Nordonia at Brecksville.
Yeah, it should be some good games even coming up. And like you said, even though they're 2-3, sometimes you can pull some upsets in high school football on any given day, and that's what I think is going to be fun to watch coming up is those games that, like North Ridgeville at North Olmsted. I mean, 4-1 against 3-2. I think sometimes you look too far ahead in games and want to jump ahead, but you got to focus in any of these conferences. That's why I love the conference. Sometimes some of these teams do separate themselves, but the guys at the top of the division and even at the low part, they can string a surprise. So any other thoughts and opinions about Week 6 coming up?
Well, just looking at, Sean was talking really good about Medina Highland, and looking at their schedule, they got two really big games that you were talking about. Starting with the Aurora game this Friday. Aurora's 5-0 coming into the game, and then the following week they play Copley, who is also, undefeated and the top of that conference too. And like Sean mentioned, if Highland has the ability to squeeze out a couple victories there, they're right in that mix there.
Absolutely.
And those are a lot of points for Computer. So, I mean, Highland's right there. And, Rob, you talked about, for conferences like these, some of the big boys kind of lead themselves towards the cream rises to the top,
Yes,
as you guys already said today. But, it could be a team right in the middle. If you're looking at the GCC, you have two teams, 4-1 right now, Strongsville and Mentor. But you got a lot of teams, Solon, Euclid, Elyria. Shaker Heights is 3-2, and Medina's 3-2. Those teams are all in there. A victory here, victory there. They're right in this thing, and you can't count out Brunswick, even though they only have one win on the year. Every win that they get now, that's going to be a lot of points for them. So you're not out of it until you're out of it. So this is where, like I said, it's going to be getting real good and right into the mix of it.
I'm glad you mentioned Euclid, because I think Euclid is a dark horse in this division or in this conference. I mean, they've played probably arguably their two toughest opponents up to date, or at least in the conference play. They played Mentor really tough, and then they upset Solon, and they have an opportunity to pick up a lot of points here going to Strongsville, taking on the Mustangs, and then the rest of their schedule. I think it's
favorable.
I think it suits up pretty well for them. So I think you're going to see Euclid make a late push here in the GCC. And like you said, you can't, and I'll have no problem tooting my own team's horn. You can't overlook Brunswick. I mean, I mentioned this at the beginning of the year that the offense was going to look different in Week 5 than it does in Week 1, and I think we kind of saw that to fruition here for Elyria. So I mean, Brunswick's has a very tough schedule left with Euclid, Mentor, Strongsville still on the schedule, but.
Anything can happen.
Top to bottom, this division or this conference, every single one of these teams is in Division 1, Region 1. Every single one of them. There is no mix of divisions. This is the big boy. This is the big boy division when it comes to high school football.
Yeah, and real quick, Ed, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I just looked today. Our buddy Joe Itel does a very good job updating his rankings in Division 1, Region 1. I have the GCC and how they rank according to Joe Itel's website. Mentor's 3, Strongsville 4, Elyria is 14, Euclid 16, Medina 17, Solon 18, Shaker Heights 20, and Brunswick 25. So the top, according to him, this isn't official, but according to his rankings, the top 16 teams make the playoffs. So right now, half of the GCC will make the playoffs if the season were to end today.
And, we haven't really talked a lot about the points because once you get kind of midway through, that's when you're going to start paying more attention.
Going to have to start looking at them now.
To
absolutely.
The points. And joeitel.com is a great source that has, a lot of the points and what can happen. And, like we said, Brunswick beating Elyria. Elyria has some points there. And, any of these teams, I think Solon can still win some games, and a lot of these guys can, really. It's still midway through the season, so we'll see what happens. And same goes for in the other leagues. I mean, top to bottom, the Suburban League, even the American Division and the National Division, just a lot of good, tough teams. And really anybody can win, but this is when you really need to start getting some points. And we talked about Heinlein. Were you surprised, Sean, that they lost to Green this week? I mean, did it sneak up on them, you think, a little bit there?
I don't think it was. I thought going into that game it was going to be a tough-fought game, and it was. And I thought maybe it was one of those situations, and it ended up coming to fruition, as we like to say. Whoever had the ball at last won that game, and unfortunately, I think Green it came down to making plays, and I think Green had a lead. Lost, was in danger of losing that lead in the second half after a great rally by Highland. But unfortunately, they made that one play. They got that one touchdown. late in the fourth quarter to kind of seal the victory. And that's the great and heartbreaking thing about sports is it's close. So I wasn't shocked that Green beat them. I thought Medina could have tucked tail and ran at halftime when they were down, but kudos to them for digging back in and going after him and really fighting to the end. And I think that's one of those galvanizing things. Yeah, they may not have got the victory, but that sets up a nice momentum. Hey, you know what? There, but for one touchdown that we let get away, now we go in and play Aurora. You know what I mean? And now we have an opportunity to take control of our own destiny. Luckily, that game was a non-conference game, so it really doesn't hurt them in the scheme of winning the division. It may hurt them in the playoff run, but at the end of the day, Highland has to focus, and I'm sure that coaching staff is focusing 100% on Aurora. As soon as they looked at the tape of the Green game, they put it away and said, "All right, we got to beat Aurora. How do we beat Aurora?" And now, and Aurora's the same way. We got to continue to roll. So I think I wasn't shocked that Green won because I thought it was going to be a closely contested game, and it was going to be kind of a coin toss.
Well, and they have one of the toughest end of schedules that we've seen with Copley and Barberton still up for Highland there. So that's going to be fun to watch and see how they do. Maybe they can pull an upset. We'll have to wait and see.
It'll be fun. But the one thing I wanted to mention was I checked the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's Northeast Ohio, and the one thing we get used to these nice 77-degree days while they last, because Friday night they are predicting a high of 54, a low of 45.
Nice.
It's going to be chilly in Northeast Ohio. That's football weather. And you know what? Those are the best times. Get the kids' coats on, go out to the local game,
Get some hot
support your
chocolate,
team, cheer,
popcorn,
yell, support
hot
these.
pretzel.
Absolutely. Pretzels. The hot chocolate. I love the hot chocolate.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with hot chocolate at a high school football game.
So good.
Clutch.
But yeah, go out and support these teams because these are great games, and it's definitely that community support is what drives these teams to want to play the big games and be in the playoffs because it rallies the community. So.
Yeah, all these divisions, Ed, looking at Broadview Heights, we kind of covered a little bit with them being atop along with Stowe. But look at Hudson. I mean, Hudson started off a little bit slow, and then they seem to turn it on a little bit and have won some games in a row here and are right in the thick of things still.
Yeah, I mean, Hudson lost to a very – obviously now we've seen how tough a team Strongsville is. And they've gotten a pretty good roll going forward, and their toughest two their toughest two contests are still to come. They have what amounts to be a warm-up game next week against Cuyahoga Falls. They need to make sure they keep it sharp. Like we talked about. Don't fall into the trap. I mean, Stowe's a major game coming up for Hudson, and a lot of points are going to be on the line there. I mean, Hudson is. I think Hudson's pretty definitively that third team right now in the Suburban League National Division, and I think you're going to see Wadsworth and Nordonia make their way up to the standings as well as conference play gets underway. Like I said before, they've played their toughest games already at the outset, and they'd have another tough one here with Broadview Heights coming up. But after that, it gets a little bit easier, and they're going to be able to pick up some victories and maybe find a way to sneak into the playoffs. Maybe as an 8 or a 7 seed in their respective region. Wadsworth, they started out 0-4. That's always a tough break. That's always tough to come back from. But they have their All Ohio running back. He's back on. They're getting a little more healthy, and when they're healthy, Wadsworth is one of the best teams in the area. They've shown that time in and time out. They're very, very consistent, and I look for a lot of big things out of Wadsworth to finish the year out. And for me, it's just week 9, Stowe Brecksville.
Yeah,
I anticipate both teams being 8-0 going into that game, and whoever wins that game's probably gonna end up number 1 in their respective region.
Yeah, and they're going to get a ton of points, off of that game if they do both continue to go undefeated. That'll be a fun game to watch and get out to.
Rob, what are you looking forward to? I mean, you look at your spotlight game, North Olmsted, North Ridgeville. What's the one thing you want to see, go in that game or any of the other games that maybe you didn't get to touch on?
I think Berea Mid-Park at Olmsted Falls is a game where you can get some points, especially Berea Mid-Park. I think after their loss to Midview, they have to continually win because, Westlake travels to Midview, which Midview, I think right now, I mean, you lose your number 1 quarterback in Dustin Crum, and then, Logan Bolin, who's Dustin Crum's main wide receiver target, and the week before, Dustin Crum threw 8, 9 touchdown passes,
like
and 6 went to Logan Bolin. Now Logan Bolin is a quarterback. I'm interested to see if Crum can quarterback this week, which it's against Westlake. So, Bolin did a nice job, and maybe we'll get the start again.
Yeah, do you think because they are playing a team that that they don't have a win, is that an opportunity for them to maybe get Crum completely healthy for their next battle, or is that something maybe they try to get him back just to see how he is, and then they'll know for sure that he's ready to go?
I mean, it's
in week 7.
I think it's tough to really sit a guy out. Even though Westlake has no wins, they can still come in and maybe pull a shot. Jaquan Hardy, the running back for Westlake, has done a really nice job continually being a leader on the team and scoring touchdowns and running the ball for Westlake. So obviously they'll probably key on him, but yeah, if you give him a break, I mean, is he going to come back a little bit rusty, in the weeks to come, and is that going to kind of set them back a little bit to try to get in the thick of things? I don't think it would, but that's just a gamble you take there. If you want to see him get healthy.
Or it could just change the game plan. I mean, it may not be so much the passing game in this game. Maybe, hey, we need the linemen to step up. We need the running game to step up and control the pace of the game. And you know what I mean? That could be something that they're looking at. I agree with you, Rob. I don't think you ever pull a quarterback. If you're, no player wants to say sit out, especially a quarterback, because so much flows through that position. It's good that that receiver can come off of his position and play the position as like a spot reliever.
Yeah.
But, as a quarterback, you game plan. You're the one watching film, and your process has been successful thus far. So you want to keep that continuity, but, maybe they just say, hey, look, we're going to ground and pound this one. And it may not be gaudy numbers like he's used to, but, hey, a win's a win, and you move on to the next week, and you maybe save some of your players' injury. But I think that's definitely a good storyline going into that game. Is, what happens, it makes that Westlake team say, hey, look, we don't know who we're playing, so we got to come and play, and we got to be tough, and we got to punch them in the nose early. Every coach told me that. You know what? As you're an underdog, punch them in the nose early, let them know you're in a fight, because it's not a game. Basketball is a game. Football is a contest. It's a boxing match every time you're out there. Land your punches when you can.
That's a good point.
And breathe when you're talking to a mic. That's
Yeah.
radio. That's radio 101.
Minor detail.
Yeah, great games coming up, and just happy to be covering a lot of these conferences because it's exciting, and we appreciate all the listeners listening. Josh, any last thoughts or words?
Well, I think we should talk about the Buckeye Bucks 5-0.
My God.
How can we get out of here without saying that?
Thanks,
Coach-
Josh Jeffy.
Coach Penzoni. I mean, we can't stop it. We can't.
He
end
never
a
let you hear
show
the end of it.
without talking about the Buckeye Bucks with another
and the Massillon Tigers for that
yeah,
much.
and the Massillon Tigers. But the Buckeye Bucks with another victory, 47-7 over Clearview. I mean, they are just really just kind of running roughshod within their conference this year so far. I mean, they have very winnable games. Finishing out the rest of the season, probably the toughest one they have is week 8 or week 9, the 16th of October against Firelands right now. But Pizzoni, we know him from our past, but he's doing a great job. We talked about it last week. He's done a great job turning that program around and actually having those kids and that community believing. And they set out their goal this year was to host and win their first ever playoff game. And you know what? Good luck to them. They're well on their way.
Yeah, Trevor Tomey built off his performance last week where he had 6 touchdowns and 7 touches.
Yeah.
He took him slightly more touches this time around, but he had 4 touchdowns all in the first half. He got to sit the second half out. And, their defense was tremendous too. Held the Clippers to 126 total yards.
Yeah, and they've only given up 7 points the last 3 games. The 2 games previously.
So that's a fantasy football defense you want right there.
There you go.
The Buckeye Bucks along with
I think we might have something there.
And you know what?
A little fantasy high school league.
Next year there's a possibility.
Sports on tap.
It would be
fantasy high
fun.
school. 4 credits only, though.
Yes.
Credits, absolutely.
And we have to figure out a way to score all that.
Yeah, it does. Just an idea.
It'd be a good time.
Not as widely reported as NFL stats.
Yeah.
Quick recap. Massillon Washington gets back to the winning ways. 43-13 win over Toledo Bowser. Tigers put this game away in the first half pretty efficiently, leading 43-6 after 2 quarters, triggering the running clock for the second half. Quarterback Seth Blankenship comes back from the injury that sidelined him since the third quarter of Week 2. He comes back. He throws for 146 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Nice.
Running back Keyshawn Watson ran for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Massillon's defense came to play on Friday. They forced 5 turnovers, including 4 interceptions.
Wow.
So with the win, Massillon Washington improves to 2-3. They do play an independent schedule, so they will be taking on the 3-2 Austintown Fitch Falcons at Mahoning Valley next week. I'm quite familiar with the Fitch Falcons. They unfortunately were able to defeat the Blue Devils earlier in the year, but I think with Massillon getting their quarterback back, he's healthy, and we saw the impact he had immediately. And the defense was very opportunistic as well, being able to create some extra scoring opportunities for the Tigers.
And just a quick update for those in Dayton that listen to this show: my alma mater got handled Friday night.
That's 2 losses in a row, right?
Yeah, it was a 51-13 loss.
We'll say your high school.
Vandalia Butler, the Fighting Aviators.
Aviators
put up a fight, but not enough of one. They actually have a kind of a weird schedule. They have 4 straight away games. So, I mean,
that's tough.
They were able to win 1 at Wilmington, but, going on the road 4 straight weeks is tough for anyone to do. They have 1 more away game before they have a couple home games next week against Piqua, who's 3-2. So we have a battle of 2 3-2 matchups. And just from my own personal history, as an Aviator, as a Butler football alumni, you want to beat Piqua because we could just never beat Piqua. So go Butler, beat Piqua, do it up. Keep it up, guys. You're doing a good job.
Congratulations, Sean Duffy, on that report.
You're welcome.
And you know what? It is going to be a good game. 3-2. They got to get back to their winning ways.
Hey, man, battle of 3-2s.
All right, guys. Well, Week 6 coming up. Want to say good luck to all the teams out there that are playing. And great job, Ed, Sean, and Josh in your conferences, the Southwestern Conference.
Same to you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank God you got that microphone problem fixed.
Yeah. That's right. New mic, man. Does wonders, let me tell you.
Yeah.
All right, good luck to all the football teams and coaches, players out there for Week 6 looking forward. And want to remind you, every Monday night at 7:30, you can listen to our Ohio High School football coverage presented by RRT Productions at 7:30 on Monday nights. Except, remember, next week
we'll be live
at Z's Cream and Bean, baby.
On Thursday at Z's Cream and Bean in Hinckley. It's 2706 Boston Road. And they have ice cream, and, they actually do have food. They have hot dogs. They have chili. And soft-serve ice cream is delicious. Milkshakes. Oh. To die
They do
for.
bring the boys to the yard. That has been documented.
They brought this boy to the yard.
Hey, I'll just tell everyone, you won't be disappointed, so head up to Z's Cream and Bean in Hinckley, Ohio.
Yes,
For Ed
sir.
Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, I'm Rob Troutman saying so long. We're Sports on Tap. This has been our Ohio High School football coverage. Presented by RRT Productions. See you later.